Spanning 7 million square kilometers, the Amazon basin holds the largest and most intensely biodiverse collection of life on Earth. For centuries, Western observers looked at this immense canopy and saw an untouched wilderness, a place completely isolated from human influence. Mid-century archaeologists reinforced this view, labeling the region a counterfeit paradise. The theory held that the Amazon's nutrient-poor soil could only sustain small, nomadic groups. To researchers of the era, the environment made large-scale agriculture and complex civilization impossible. Modern science effectively taught us that the forest's incredible diversity existed specifically because humans stayed out of the way. But modern remote sensing is revealing structures with perfect geometry hidden deep beneath the trees, contradicting decades of established theory. These discoveries suggest the Amazon is an ancient, human-engineered garden rather than a wild, untouched forest. This realization changes how we view the survival and function of the world's largest forest, showing a history of active management where we previously saw only nature. We find evidence of this management in the ground itself, a substance called terra preta, or Amazonian dark earth. This chart compares the two types of ground in the basin. On the left is the natural soil, shallow, pale, and depleted of nutrients. On the right is a deep, dark, carbon-rich soil engineered by humans over 5,000 years ago. Indigenous peoples created this soil to solve the region's infertility. It retains high nutrient levels for centuries, allowing crops to thrive in an environment that should naturally reject them. Ancient inhabitants rewrote the region's chemistry, building a foundation for mass agriculture in a place once deemed inhospitable. This influence extends from the soil up into the canopy, through a pattern called hyperdominance. This graph plots the 16,000 tree species found in the basin. A small group of trees, specifically domestic crops like cocoa and Brazil nuts, account for a highly disproportionate percentage of the total forest. This distribution is the result of selective cultivation over 12,000 years. Indigenous management transformed the forest into a landscape of abundance. The biodiversity we see today is the surviving footprint of a continental-scale orchard. There is also monumental architecture hiding in the landscape itself. Huge geoglyphs, raised mounds, and interconnected road networks are carved into the ground, stretching for miles across the basin. These structures point to a complex, thriving civilization, a society numbering up to 10 million people. The empty wilderness described by later explorers was a post-apocalyptic landscape, overgrown only after European diseases decimated the population. The Amazonians didn't build stone pyramids because they had a different monument, the engineered living forest. Modern land use is now dismantling that 12,000-year-old system. Today, 20% of the Amazon has already been cleared or degraded for cattle ranching and soy farming. If that loss reaches 25%, we trigger a tipping point, shown here. The water cycle collapses, rapidly flipping the lush territory into a dry savanna. Current agribusiness often leads to agro-suicide, where clearing the land destroys the rainfall farmers need to survive. By cutting down the forest, we eliminate the very mechanisms that made this region fertile and stable for millennia. Saving this ecosystem requires a strategy informed by its history. Conservation should focus on something more effective than building a wall to keep people out of a nature preserve. Protecting the forest depends on re-empowering the indigenous communities who hold the ancestral knowledge of how to cultivate it. Indigenous peoples created the Amazon as we know it, and they remain its most effective